Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Trilogy TV. My name is Kevin Maynor, and I'm the Executive Director and Artistic Director of Trilogy and Opera Company. We are here, bold and brash, in the city of Newark, New Jersey, and we are proud to be here. I want to take a minute to talk to you about Trilogy and Opera Company and our mission. We focus on the works of black composers and subject matter relative to the black experience. In my, I can't even describe it, I guess now, some 30 plus years of being in the music industry, particularly in the world of opera, I have found that oftentimes I would be involved in projects that were not, shall we say, reflective of my community per se. And I felt my community was losing out some sort of way here from a magnificent art form that's so comprehensive and has so many different kinds of things in it. So I wanted to make sure that my community was involved in this comprehensive art form that deals with acting and singing and dance and all kinds of things, sculpture and painting and everything you can imagine in the arts you find on the operatic stage. So I wanted to create a situation where the people that I love and the community from which I come could experience some of the things that I have experienced in my lifetime. So I embarked on Trilogy, an opera company, in full force. Now I have to say one thing. This particular project really actually came to us as a result of a very ugly situation that happened in the city of Newark, which I really won't go into right now because I don't think it's so important at this particular moment. But this particular ugliness that happened, which sort of left a bad taste in my mouth, actually came from a record company, a major record company, who said some unkind things about Newark. So I thought it important to bring to Newark 3 specific projects, one on Nat Turner, one on Harriet Tubman, and one on Frederick Douglass. And then we did them. And I thought in those days it was important to bring these projects right into some of the newest and finest buildings that were being built in Newark, that I saw that African Americans and Latinos and many other minorities had not visited or had not been inside of and weren't really invited to come inside, if you will, of these magnificent places that were being built in the city of Newark. So I thought to myself, let us do something quite unusual and produce in these buildings that are not really designed for production, if you will. They're not theaters. But let's bring the stage in and bring in everything that comes with the theater into these spaces. Let's bring opera live and do it in these places and then bring the community into these places that they don't normally see and let them see themselves. So our operatic projects were reflective of the community in which we lived in. So we knew they would be of interest to the community. So we embarked on that. Now, so I had the great fortune of working with fantastic singers and directors and conductors my entire life. So I said, it's time now for me to bring some of these people to the city in which I live. So I brought the very best of the very best. And the first project we did was Nat Turner. Second project we did was Frederick Douglass, and the third project was Harriet, a Woman Called Moses. Now, since that time, we've done 35 productions. And those productions, some of them have, I should say 23 of them were brand new productions, which was very unusual, which is very unusual in this day and time. So we brought those productions and we focused on such subject matters, Emmett Till, And we looked at others who were very important, the Central Park Five and Marcus Garvey and, of course, Paul Robeson. And we looked at these projects and we brought them to the community, and the community has been very excited about them. And I think they've been excited about them because they are what they know and they reflect their own heritage. And so Trilogy has been trying to make sure that we continue in this vein. So I should say our next projects coming up for this upcoming season, I think you all will find very interesting because we will be doing one project called Scott Garner and Gray Says Jimmy Baldwin. And this deals with Walter Scott and Eric Garner and Freddie Gray, who were murdered by the police. And from the perspective of James Baldwin, this is a new piece being written by Dwayne Fulton on a libretto by Richard Wesley. And that is our big new premiere piece that's coming forth. The other 4 productions that we will be doing, one will actually be on Robeson, the other is on Garvey, Marcus Garvey, and then the other is a piece that we started last year called W.E.B. Booker T, which deals with W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington. And these pieces will be very exciting, I believe, to the public, especially not only just to this immediate public that is here in Newark, New Jersey, but to the state of New Jersey, because this is subject matter that, yes, is reflective of the black experience, but it is very important to all people to know who these people are. And besides that, you're going to hear some of the finest music by some of the finest composers in the land. And the composers that we will be featuring this year, as I said, Dwayne Fulton, and of course Julius Williams, who is also our music director, Adolphus Hailstork, and our beloved Michael Raphael. So you're going to get a chance to hear some wonderful music and see some wonderful things. Now, I should talk to you about why we chose opera to do here in the city of Newark. Opera is this all-encompassing art form, and it, like I said, it has all of these different variables in it. All of the arts are in it, and listening to it can be challenging for some people, but it doesn't have to be, because you have to realize there's so many things that are happening in opera, and your job is to enjoy what you can comprehend at that particular moment. Now, one thing I must say to you, opera is all about the music, and everything that happens on the stage must be reflective of the music. So what does that mean? All right, this is what that means. It means that if the music is sort of turning and turning and turning in curlicues and so forth, what you see on the stage must be reflective of the music. So that means the set must look like the music. It must turn and twist in some sort of way that's reflective of the music, all right? That means that the singing actors must move in a way that is reflective of the music. That means that the makeup and the hair choices and the costumery must be reflective of this, shall we say, curlicue music, if you will. Or everything must be reflective of the music. And if it, or it must be exactly the opposite. That means it must be non-reflective, drastically non-reflective of the music. Now, if it is clear to you that you are watching a production that is reflective of the music, or if it is clear to you that you are watching a production that is not reflective of the music, then you are watching what I call a successful production. Now, if you are watching a production where that is sort of, you're indecisive as to whether or not that is happening, you are watching an unsuccessful production. Now, that's how you know if you're having the kind of experience that one would want you to have when you're going to the operatic theater. Now, oftentimes opera is done with different languages, in German, in Russian, Italian, in French, Spanish, It's done in all different languages. It's not so important that you understand every word of what's going on, but it is very important that you can sense an aspect of what's going on. Now, you might enjoy what you're actually seeing more so than what you're actually hearing. And you might enjoy the atmosphere that's being created, the lighting and so forth. This might be something that's quite interesting to you. So you might watch that aspect of it. You might watch the changes in mood that come about as a result of the lighting. Or you might just like the changes in scenery. You might like to see all the different types of sets that can be brought in, the designs, the different background pieces that are shown, that are flown in, that's dropped in, that's shown to you. You might be into this particular aspect, which is fine. Choose your aspect, but understand it's important for you to understand that you might not gather everything that is happening to you in the theater at that particular moment. There's no crime in this. You're not required to be the greatest intellectual, if you will, when you're watching opera. What we hope you will do is that you will open yourself up and experience what it is that you are hearing and seeing in a very relaxed way. That's what we're hoping will happen. Now, so the requirement, as I see it at this particular time, is for us to be ready to experience whatever it is that comes to us in a very natural way. All right? You must come without any preconceived notions about it all, and you must be ready to accept what it is that you're seeing, and ready to deal with it, if you will. And that means that you have to be willing to cipher it out. If you have language barriers, or if the music sounds very complex and it's unusual in terms of what you usually hear, it's different, you must give it a chance, if you will. This is very important. We are so fortunate to be able to take operas and focus on subject matter that is relative to our community. I mean, when you look at people like Jomo Kenyatta, Marcus Garvey, Paul Robeson, these people like this, and you look at these figures, and we can actually do operatic material on them. It's a wonderful thing. Amiri Baraka, a very famous poet, who's a good friend of mine, who's passed, used to say to me all the time, he said, "We are the box office." And I believe that too. We are. Oftentimes I see all of the different types of things that happen in our community, and all of the figures that are in our community. And if we were to focus and on them alone, we would have all of the artistic subject matter that we need. We'd have more than enough. I mean, I can sit here and commission operas until the cows come home, if you will, or whatever the saying is. It's very easy to do so because there's so much subject matter that is so fascinating particularly about African Americans, that so many people know so very little of because they've had no experience or haven't had the ready experience with African Americans like I've had with Caucasians or with whites. And I know one thing I always say to people, I am aware of history as it is involved in the American experience. I know white history and I know black history, but oftentimes my white brothers and sisters, they do not know black history because they do not have the opportunity to involve themselves in it, and it has not been thrust upon them. They haven't been required to learn it. So it becomes something that is very hard for them to understand. They come to it late, or they come to it rather unexposed in the earlier parts of their lives, given by the communities that they live in, or by the simple nature that they are not required to really travel to other communities that are foreign to them. So, but opera, particularly in the city of Newark, comes to us in a very special way. This is the destination, if you will, for black art in America. Newark, New Jersey is. So it's very important and significant, I believe, that there is an opera company that focuses on the works of black composers and subject matter relative to the black experience. Newark, New Jersey is the perfect place for this. And we are inviting people to take time to come to Newark, to tour, and to see the kinds of experiences that are going on here artistically. And we want them, and particularly those who don't have, like I said, the encounter with the African American experience. And I think it's very important to learn about cultures that are different from your own. So we don't say just black people come, or just Asians come, or just anybody come. We want everybody to come. We want everybody to be experienced, or to experience what it is that we have to offer here with Trilogy and Opera Company. And we're going to be using this vehicle called Trilogy TV to talk about, or actually to show you and to talk about opera from the perspective of Trilogy and Opera Company. Our board happens to be just about, last time I looked, all African American. And they have some very interesting perspectives on what it is that they've been doing now for 15 years, because this is our 15th anniversary year, Trilogy and Opera Company, our 15th anniversary year. And they have perspectives. There's things that they have learned, and they've had opportunity to share. And I want them to share those experiences as well. And so from time to time, I will be bringing my board members on Trilogy TV here with Trilogy and Opera Company for you to meet them and to listen about the experiences that they have had learning and working around the operatic genre. It's very important, I believe, also at this particular day and time for us to document what it is that we're doing, so that, yes, these composers write these first these librettists write these fantastic texts for us that's set by composers. The music is set by composers. And then we must take time to capture it in film and video and audio. And then we must place it in our libraries and allow our children to study it. And see, what makes opera so interesting is that it's very difficult to repeat it the same way, because it's so difficult for the artists to produce. So we make the sounds, and we create the sounds and the motions, and those two aspects of it really can't be produced the same way. They can sound similar, but in actuality, they are not. So we can create some of the same sets and the same backdrops, and we can be dependent upon them. And they can look very similar. But even then, lighting will change and the experience will change. And that changes for the listener, or for the hearer, if you will. So we want to be sure that people understand. They say, well, why, when you go to the operatic theater, do you experience the same operas in history over and over again? You go see an opera like, I don't know, La Boheme or Madame Butterfly. And Why do you go see it over and over and over again if you've seen it once? Well, you go and see it because different artists interpret it different ways, and the music will never be the same. And there's so much to see and to hear, more than we can even imagine. We're getting ready to do The Ring here in the city of Newark, and we started the first installment. The first one we did was Das Rheingold. The next one is called Die Walküre. Then the third one is Siegfried, and the last one is Goethe Dämmerung. And we're going to do them in German because it's important. That's how they were written. And African Americans throughout history have not had a regular experience, if you will, with this particular repertoire, which is called the Wagnerian repertoire, and particularly with the Ring, der Ring des Nibelungen. All right, and so we're going to bring these operas that have been done many, many times to Newark, New Jersey, and we're getting ready. This particular month, March, is when we usually present the Ring, and we will do Die Walküre next, and this will happen in March. Actually, on March the 18th at the New Jersey Performing Arts Center. Our good friends down at the New Jersey Performing Arts Center, and so we want you all to come. Yes, to that production, and we want you to come to some of the other productions that we are doing. And it's very important that you understand that what we're doing is not only just for Newark, but it's for the entire community, the entire state, if you will. And we have found that some of the major or leading universities and colleges in the United States have been taking our materials and documenting them and putting them in their libraries. And this is important because what we're doing is groundbreaking. We're looking very, very seriously and in a very, very sophisticated manner at the works of black composers and writers, librettists, if you will. And we are pondering, going over this material, looking at it historically, and then trying to interpret it in different ways so that people have an understanding of what it is that other black people were trying to say in one way or another. We're not afraid to look at the circumstances that have been thrust upon us. So it's we won't always just be focusing on great black figures, but we'll be focusing on some of the most horrific things that have happened to us, like the 4 little girls in Birmingham who were bombed in the church. We'll be looking at the Central Park 5. And so we want you to stay tuned to what we're doing here at Trilogy. And tune in, watch us on Sunday evenings at 10 p.m. on Channel 19 and on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. And tune in to Trilogy TV and watch Trilogy and Opera Company. We thank you for spending this time with us, and we'll be bringing some very exciting guests for you to meet and some very exciting and important music. Thank you.